What happens when someone tries to make their inappropriate dreams come true? Let me describe the situation. So to start things off, I'm AFAB, non-binary. My pronouns are they/them. Fair warning, this story contains assault and harassment. So my 15-year-old brother introduces me, a 20-year-old, to these guys that play D&D from his Air Force cadet group who are around my age. They're leaders or something. After a while of chatting and getting to know one another, the DM asked me to join, which is cool, since they seemed like nice guys for the most part. I go over my character with the DM, a mastermind rogue named Vin, who I'll emphasize is a middle-aged man, because it becomes relevant to the story. I'll also add that Vin is somewhat masculine, for the most part, and dresses very suave and sophisticated. I go to the first session, and there is another player that the DM had mentioned of that I hadn't met yet. He seemed nice enough, but he did have an aura of a nice guy with some neck-beardedness about him, and he seemed very enthusiastic to meet me, which I found a little odd, but brushed it off for the most part. We begin the session, and I introduce Vin to the party, and I watch this player's face just drop as I begin with, "You see a human man." No one else seemed to bat an eyelid that my character was a man, but this guy did not look happy. I meet the party, and we have Carl, a half-orc cleric, Tim, a tiefling fighter, Doriana, an elf wizard, a DMPC called Glory, and a tiefling barbarian who was actually Tim's daughter and one of my fave NPCs. Lastly, we have the neckbeard himself, Cliff, the fallen ASMR rogue. So the campaign started out pretty normally, nothing too strange. However, I noticed Cliff was somewhat obsessed with Vin. Cliff always wanted to be around Vin, and always wanted to do what Vin wanted, which was fine until moments when we needed to split the party. Putting the two rogues together is just not a good idea, in my honest opinion, especially since Vin isn't much of a fighter. I put his skills into his charisma and int-based skills, so he's a talker and an investigator, not a backstabber and thief. Me and the rest of the party would always try and be like, I think Vin should go with Tim or Glory, as they're less charismatic than Vin, and often needed his help to talk their way out of sticky situations. But Cliff would metaphorically stomp his foot and pout. I found that quite strange and chalked it down as maybe Cliff just has a crush on me. But then, things got really weird. So Cliff is an artist, and so am I, and I would often share drawings of the party I made with our group chat. Cliff at one point mentioned he had a Deviant Art account. I, also having one, asked what his account was, and he got really defensive, saying, "You don't need to know, it's private." I didn't think too much about it, as I know many people with alternative or private art accounts. Well, one day I was perusing Deviant Art, and I follow many fantasy/sci-fi/D&D based accounts, and so that's what I'm recommended, and I see something very familiar. Some artwork made by Cliff. Now, knowing that it was a private account, I probably shouldn't have looked at it, but seriously, the stuff on it was wild. So much art of Vin, but not normal art like Vin fighting monsters or something. It was gender swapped, and I really wish I was making this up, a not safe for work version of Vin. And it was definitely not subtle. There was a large chest, heaps of makeup, and skimpy outfits. And I'm not here to judge people's private preferences, but this was of my own character, my male character. The only way I could tell it was him was his dark hair with his blonde streak, heterochromia, and his cane that he normally uses to help him walk as he was disabled. And let's just say that he was using that cane for more unsavory purposes in the art. To be fair, I laughed so hard I cried, but it was so weird. He even drew art of his own character having his way with Fem Vin. After the hilarity of it died down, I realized how weird it was, though I didn't know how to bring it up with Cliff or the DM. So one fateful session is when things come crashing down. Our party is relaxing at an inn after some quests, prepping for what should have been a fun casual shopping/relaxation session. Vin goes to bed in his room, and the rest of the party, minus Tim and Glory, are just hanging out at the bar. Cliff asks Dorian if he could hold on to the one-time use scroll of polymorph that we had gotten earlier on that I had forgotten about. And Dorian, not really thinking anything wrong was about to happen, gives it to him, and suddenly Cliff states, "I go up to Vin's room." We all kinda look at each other, not sure why he needs to go up to Vin's room. He goes upstairs and knocks on the door, and we have a little casual chit-chat. And I try to end things by insisting that Vin is tired and wants to sleep. But then Cliff pulls out the polymorph scroll, and it begins to dawn on me what he is about to do. Vin lunges at him, and we roll initiative. Cliff rolls higher and uses the scroll on Vin, and I fail to save. And you'll never guess what Clint has Vin turn into. Basically the Deviant Art Fem version of himself. The rest of the players look at each other with looks of confusion. Even the DM looks absolutely flabbergasted as Cliff is describing Vin's new form. I am burning with rage and anger as Cliff uses the rest of his turn to push her up against the wall and kiss her, forcing our bodies together, with this poop-eating smug grin on his face. I glare at him as I reply with Vin, furious, pulls the blade from his swordstick cane and slashes at Cliff. I roll and nat 20 and almost max my die, dealing around 50 or so damage. DM letting me use sneak attack. I then stand up and say to the party something along the lines of, "Sorry guys, but with that display and the fact that Cliff has been drawing extremely inappropriate art of Vin, I'm gonna have to take a break from the campaign for a bit." Everyone, still in shock, all just kinda nod and stuff, and the DM looks angry, grabbing Cliff by the arm and dragging him into another room. I pack up my gear and the other players quietly help and apologize, asking if I'm okay. I express I need a bit to calm down and figure stuff out, but I'm okay, and I leave for the night. DM messages me later asking if I'm okay, and if I want to come back to play again, as he's considering kicking Cliff, but having mixed feelings as they've been friends for a while. I explained that I need time to think it over, as I don't know how to face the guys again after that happening. I was mortified, especially after having Cliff ruin the experience of playing that character who I really enjoyed. I still haven't returned, and it's been about 4 months, but they ended up kicking Cliff over some other weird behavior and red flags that they begun noticing, so maybe I'll go back, but I haven't decided yet. Now this is pretty sick and twisted. It's one thing to do that sort of thing in private, but to take it to the table is a whole nother story. DM should have shut this down quick, but seriously, if OP didn't know about the Deviant Art account, then this definitely would have felt like it came out of left field. And then supposedly there was other weird behavior and red flags? I have no clue why he wasn't kicked out on the spot. What do you all think about this situation?